Foster Bill.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I rise to take a call on the Members' Bill, the Environmental Protection Authority Protection of the Environment Amendment Bill, which has been introduced. Which has been introduced in the name of the member who has, in fact, just resumed her seat. Actually, it's Meka Whaitiri's bill. Sir, this government has a proud track record on protecting the environment in New Zealand. After years of inactivity, years of mismanagement, years of apathy from a Labour government propped up by an impotent Green support partner, where they achieved nothing in terms of protecting the New Zealand environment, I'm proud to be part of a government which has introduced for the first time in New Zealand comprehensive environmental reporting regime, bringing us in line with the majority of OECD countries which have such a regime in place. Sir, I'm also proud to be part of a government which, by introducing the Exclusive Economic Zone Act, has brought into place a regime for managing our offshore resources and protecting our offshore environment. So, sir, this piece of legislation, well-intentioned as it is by the member who has introduced it in her name, and I do have considerable respect for the honourable member Meka Whaitiri. I'm sure this is well-intentioned, sir. It is unnecessary. It is not going to achieve its objective of actually enhancing the New Zealand environment, and that is why I will be speaking against this piece of legislation in this debate. Sir, over the past few months, I've taken the opportunity to go out and see what has actually been done by New Zealand companies to make sure that their activities, whilst creating jobs and generating valuable export earnings, do not detract from those environmental values which we hold so dear in New Zealand. Just recently, I took the opportunity to visit King Salmon Farms, which is a New Zealand-Malaysian joint venture that creates hundreds of jobs within the Marlborough and Nelson regions, and also gives us opportunities to generate valuable export earnings with a high-quality proprietary product which is exported to markets such as the United States to be used in the food service industry. King Salmon take the utmost care with their management of their fisheries, both from a fish health and disease management point of view, to carefully monitoring fish excrement which goes into waterways to make sure that we are not having a detrimental effect on the beautiful Marlborough Sounds, which I think we can all agree is a national asset and taonga for our country, which should be protected. And when we look at some recent decisions that have come out of the Environmental Protection Agency and even court decisions, such as the Supreme Court decision on King Salmon's fishery, I, for one, was particularly disappointed with that, given it was by far the clear intention of lawmakers in this place and of the executive that the different environmental and economic criteria which are laid out in a coastal policy statement were not presented hierarchically, and that wasn't the way that the court chose to interpret that particular document. So I think we have some disappointments around the current interpretations that have been given, but by and large we have a regime which is heavily tilted towards protecting the environment in New Zealand. We've had recent decisions where Trans-Tasman Resources, who were investigating iron sand extraction from off the coast of Taranaki, were declined a permit under the current EEZ regime. We have had a situation where the EPA have also declined Chatham Rock the ability to extract phosphate nodules from around the Chatham Islands, which I know the Honourable Member Annette King takes considerable interest in as the local member for that area, but not as much as the Attorney-General, Chris Finlayson, who is a very, very frequent visitor and takes a very close interest. In fact, he's a very good, warm friend of the Chathams. But in any case, Mr Speaker, this government has done a huge amount to protect the environment. We've done a lot more than the previous Labour government ever achieved. So when we see a bill like this, as well-intentioned as I'm sure the member Meka Whaitiri is, I personally believe it's not necessary. It's a political act. I won't call it a stunt, but it is a political act to try and perhaps resolve the issue. They have a few guilty consciences over on the other side for their 9 years of woeful inactivity.
Eugenie Sage.
On the environment.